We just want to get your thoughts in terms of when you think the regulatory wave will crest here in Asia.
I don't. I think it'll carry on. I think there's a lot more regulation to come. There's a desire on the part of the regulators to uprate where we are, where we have been, and they are already working very hard. There are a number of consultation exercises out there. My estimate is about 7 or 9 currently going on. There are possibly 2 or 3 more to come this year. And then there will be implementation of those consultation exercises by the SFC. MAS is doing some of that, but SFC is leading the way here. Now, they come from a position where they are protecting the investor from the wiles of the industry. But the industry has been itself quite decimated in some respects because it's changed from being so active to being a much more passive-based industry. So we are seeing that potentially coming as an impact later in the next 5 years.
Right, and thank you. One of the other areas where we're seeing a lot of concern, in addition to regulation, is of course information security. This was definitely in the news in recent weeks, and I just want to get your thoughts in terms of how prepared are your clients in this region to handle these types of threats?
I don't think our clients are very well protected either. I know working at Citi that we have a massive department that looks after this. They reckon that we get more than 1 million hits every day of hackers trying to enter the system, and clearly there is an enormous investment into protecting the system, Citi being a global organization. But some of the fund managers are not so global, they're more regional, they probably don't want to spend so much on protection of their systems. As we've seen in the most recent hacking exercise, even big organizations don't update when they should do, and that's a very easy thing to miss out on. And I think that's where a lot of fund managers around the region especially will need to pay a lot of attention if they are to avoid being hit by hackers. I think this is true particularly so for China, but also in other parts of the region where you have more smaller scale managers, less global fund managers who are quite active. They're the ones that are probably most likely to get hit. They're not so interesting maybe to the hackers because they don't manage trillions, but they do still manage a lot of money. What they will get out of it is hard to tell. Of course, data is the big issue, and trying to access that data is very important to some people for some reason.
Well, you mentioned the importance of trying to access that data. It's not just hackers that are trying to make the most of that. A lot of the buy side are trying to use this data in more innovative and efficient ways to improve their businesses. What are some of the best practices that you're seeing?
Well, clearly one of the biggest changes in the asset management business has been the move from active to passive, and the result of that is that data is being used even more because in passive, fund managers are following an index, and that index is required for them to manage their assets. They can then move money every hour of every working day that the markets are open to stay in line with the index. That's important. That's how data is being used most actively. Then if you're in the distribution part of the business, then you can use the data on your customers, if you're a bank, or clients, if you're a financial advisory business, to identify what may be missing in portfolios, what they should be adding to their portfolios, how they could be varying their portfolios. Keeping up to date is really very important, and that's where data will help them enormously.
Now, Stewart, obviously we're here in Hong Kong. This has billed itself for many years as an access point to China. How would you rate the level of improvement in terms of access to Chinese markets over the recent years?
Enormous. Great improvement. China is open up. It's opened up for everyone, but via Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is therefore that conduit. Hong Kong has always been a conduit to China, but it hasn't been so for the financial services industry until the last 5 to 10 years. And now that's happening, it's increasing quite considerably with the Stock Connect programs with Shanghai and Shenzhen, the Bond Connect program that's just been launched. We'll expect to get an ETF Connect program, maybe early in 2018, and then other routes such as the mutual recognition of funds, albeit that it's been very slow so far. My expectation, though, is that China continues to use Hong Kong as the way to get started, but I expect that probably in a few years' time they might want to go more directly to some other countries around the world where they feel there's a good opportunity to take China products.
Well, it's going to be a space in an area that we will certainly all watch with great interest. Stewart, thank you very much for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you.